Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with a very long time homie. I was doing the mental checklist and I was like, it's 26 years. It's been 26 years because I know it was the
Yeah,
first
man.
tour, the very first tour I ever did. You were playing like another room in the church or something like that. It was like, do you remember this show?
I don't remember where it was at, but I do remember the first time getting to see you and the first time we kind of interacted.
Yeah, it was like they tried to do a festival inside the church and just use rooms or something.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah. You're
you would
probably in
go
like
in.
the kindergarten room.
Probably. I think we were in the Sunday school room. I think you were in the fellowship hall
Yeah,
next to the potluck. I don't remember. I just
yeah,
remember like walking down a hall, and I'm like, "There's music playing in there," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's Pillars playing in there." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I got to go play another show down the hall." Like I just remember it was. I feel like it was the Extreme tour Extreme Days tour I was on with.
yeah. That might have been it.
It was like Beanbag, PAX 217, myself, and MG. It was like, we're going to shake it up. Two rap groups and two
Yeah,
rock bands.
yeah,
But I remember thinking like you were down the hall. I don't think maybe we interacted really quick. Was this your backward baseball cap era?
yeah. That would have probably been
Yeah.
around that time. Yeah,
I remember a promo shot. You were like, does that sound right?
yeah.
See,
That's the vibe right there.
backward baseball cap era was a very specific era.
Yes.
I blame a guy whose name rhymes with Ted Worst for that one. But would you say Pillar started off as rap rock, or was it like you just loved to rap, so it was the new metal era? Was it that I just
Yeah.
I've explained to my son who's 15 just the pivotal era of the late 90s to the early 2000s, like where everything
Yeah.
kind of shifted. Rock dudes were like, I'm gonna rap dudes were like, I'm gonna rock, and then
Yeah.
we didn't know what we were doing. Was that sound about right? was pillar
Yeah.
was pillar rap rock, new metal? What would you say when you guys started?
We were very confused when we first started, to be honest with you. And I think it just
Okay.
kind of evolved. Like, so
Okay.
here's a quick summary. So when we started, the guy that was playing guitar, that was kind of the catalyst to, the whole let's start a band. His name's Travis Jenkins, and massive 311 fan. Like
There it is.
massive
Okay.
311 fan, which 311 was doing it. They were one of the first ones on the scene to really do that. They were
Totally.
from the Midwest. They're from Nebraska. We are from
Okay.
Kansas. He had this like huge influence. But when we first started, it was nothing. Like if you go back and listen to the first indie album that we did, which I wouldn't recommend because you'll think less of us, but the the work that we did on that record, there really wasn't any like rappy stuff.
Okay.
It just
All right.
it wasn't really there. And then we started getting better. We started living together. We started writing more songs. That's when it kind of started coming out. I was
Got
never
it.
a rapper. I was never good at it. It's just something they're like, hey, we like this style. What if you did something more like this? And so it just kind of evolved. And then our first national record after we got signed, there was, we had already done our second indie record. They liked it. So we went and re-recorded that. And that's what we put out.
Well, I feel like that era was the era where if you maybe not weren't a rapper per se, it wasn't about like my, I'm gonna hop in the cipher and bust my hot 16 verses. But it
Yeah,
was it was the era that if you wanted to rap, you could put enough guitars and drums and aggression and
yeah,
vibe
yeah.
that,
I could fake
there
it.
was kids. Well, I don't know if he was even. I think there was kids like that. I think that's what
Yeah,
the reality was. Is that era spoke to a lot of kids that were like, I'm not going in the dank clubs to battle rhyme, but I still love the music because obviously we're of the same age, same era age, and so we grew up on the same things. Where you did grow up, really with like hip hop in its first time coming into the mainstream.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I'll be honest with you, the first time I remember hearing anything like that was being at a friend's house, and he had the Anthrax album of Public Enemy and
Okay,
Anthrax.
right.
That's
Bring the
my first
noise.
recollection of ever hearing this, like, what could happen if rap and rock combined. Yeah, I was like, turn it up. Bring the
Right.
noise, Public Enemy #1. You're like, what the
Yep.
heck is this?
Yeah.
That would have been like way early 90s.
Absolutely. Yeah, Bring the Noise is like 88, 89. I was a
Yeah.
huge Public Enemy fan. That was like my number one group of all time.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I was mad. I did not like it. I was like, this is ruining the song. Why are you
Yeah.
speeding up the track? Hopefully this will never catch on. So I spent a good deal of the 90s just hating on rap rock in the sense of like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's just for dudes who can't rhyme. I'm out here in the clubs. I'm the only white guy. I'm doing my thing, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So over time, as the late 90s go into 2000s hit, it was getting really hard for me to like get any seat at the table just doing straight boom bap rapidy rap hip hop. That a lot of times I would have people go, "Oh man, you should like come do a verse on my man's rock band," or they'd be like, "Oh man, just like what if you did this?" And I'm always just
Yeah.
roll my eyes. And it wasn't until my first album, Seventh Avenue, when I did a track called 12 Round Knockout, that I kind of started to understand that it could work. Like I was like, I can do this in my own way. And then I really kind of was like, realistically, I actually found more connection with guys like yourself than I was even finding with my own industry, that I was like bonding. Like I was like, man, I can go out and tour with these guys and their audience gets it way faster than the struggle that I'm having over here, especially in the church world and the CCM world at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really connected with guys like you and Trev from Thousand Foot
Yeah.
Krutch. I'm trying to think of some of the other guys around that time. Well, mainly just you two. That's the only two I like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Well,
kidding. I'm
there were a
kidding.
lot of great ones. PAX 217 was a
Yes,
front runner
PAX. Right.
in that era.
Yeah.
You had guys like
Yeah.
Earthsuit that kind of came in and blew people's minds.
Yep. Yes.
There were some incredible, like talented individuals. And just to go on record, Trevor's arguably, in my opinion, probably the most versatile, best front man in the
Absolutely.
Christian scene. Like he can rap, he can scream, he can sing. He's a great writer.
He can do
He's hard
punk.
to
He can
compete with.
do,
He can do it
yeah.
all, man. He's so
Yeah.
versatile. And it was guys
He
like
looks like,
that.
the Coldplay guy. I mean, he's a total package. You know what I mean?
He's just got it all, man. But Thousand Foot Crutch was that era of like, holy cow, man, these guys are all really good. And I think that's what pushed us towards, hey, let's be better at what we've got to evolve faster. We're these small town Kansas kids. We got to catch up. Like these guys are doing it well. So we were inspired by them. And I think for me, I was just a very simple minded, small town Kansas kid that just worked hard and learned fast, in the environment around me. So I kept it simple, and I think sometimes that's actually what helped us out, like being able to write more radio friendly stuff because like I'm not a very deep writer.
Sure. Well, I feel like if you're saying you would learn fast, I think you learned really fast, because I feel like almost by the second album, you kind of had the game plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The second album was, where do we
fireproof.
go from here? Fireproof. Okay, I'm sorry.
Fireproof is a sec, which is the one that. So you referenced 12 Round Knockout.
Yeah.
I was writing a song called Just to Get By, and I made a reference because by the second album, what I was learning is like, oh, you have to like use like metaphors and connect what you're trying to say with something light. And I remember saying, like KJ, this is a 12 round knockout. And somebody at the label, they're like, you should ask KJ if he wants to be on the record. I was like, I didn't know you could do that.
Right.
So, that's when
Right.
we reached out and it's like, hey, you want to do this track? Because then that connects the reference. Like you're on the record on a different track, and now it pushes people to look into your catalog that are our fans of like, what is this 12 round knockout you speak of?
Well, I was in a weird space because that was like the last song I did. Then I got dropped by my record label, and I was
Yeah.
floating like for almost a year or two with no label, just getting by, rocking shows here and there. And I remember this very clearly when we recorded, because you reached out to me, and I feel like, and forgive me if I'm wrong, and if I'm throwing him under the bus, then oh well, too bad, he's my boy too. You were like, we're trying to get T-Bone, but he won't respond because
Well,
T-Bone was on the same label.
yes, they were pushing me to try to get T-Bone to do it because he followed us, in terms of like signing to Flickr Records.
Right,
They had
right.
an individual named Riley Armstrong, and
Yep.
then they brought us on. They brought a couple kind of pop acts on, and then they picked up T Bone, and they're like, "You
Right.
should get T Bone." I was like, "That's cool." I don't know that he would fit the vibe of what we're going for because we definitely are not like a West Coast, East Coast, anything. We're more just a little bit more grounded, I guess. Not grounded is not the right word, but just we didn't have a specific like we're this vibe, and T
Right.
Bone is
Well,
straight up West Coast vibe.
right. I feel
So
like that album you were I think it laid the foundation for what you were going to become. Am I
yeah,
wrong?
and then no, absolutely. I think by that point we had understood the game. We learned what it meant to write songs that worked. We were also I was growing more in my personal faith, and then by the time we got to the next record, where do we go from here? That record evolved so much more melodically. There was a lot less. There was only one song that was really rappy, and I was very intentional to try to bring melody to the rhythm and the flow of the verses, which was
Right.
Frontline. So
Right.
that song became more melodic as well.
Sure. Well, I remember this recording session very well. For whatever reason, I wound up in Nashville. I can't remember why I was. I think I was
Yeah.
just really just trying to get a record deal. So I was either doing showcases or I was doing a show. There was always like one or two places I could play in Nashville for like a bed to sleep on and maybe $500 or something like that. And it was always like a crossroads to get there. And so, however it worked out, you were like, "Hey, why don't you record with us?" Because that wasn't my typical. I would like either record at Todd's studio or whatever. And you're like, "Hey, come by the Audio Adrenaline house. That's where we're staying. We'll work on the song, et cetera, et cetera." So I feel like you were sleeping on like a mattress on the floor. Does this sound right?
Yeah, man.
You were
Yeah.
just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay. So it was like the Audio Adrenaline. Audio Adrenaline had a house, like it was like a studio and like a storage place, and it was just like a crash pad. And
Yep. It was a house in Franklin, just in the
okay,
neighborhood. And yeah,
yeah,
we were just
it
grinding
was
it,
like
man.
yeah, it was like a bachelor pad, really. So I remember it was like it was just you and Travis in the studio. I feel like I stayed overnight. So either I stayed on that mattress too, or I was somewhere nearby.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember clearly when we woke up is you said, "We're gonna run to Toby's house." Like this was like you were like, "This is what we're doing." And I probably was like at the time running, or I wasn't a serious runner. I wasn't even really super exercising, but I'm like my competitive nature kicked in. I'm like, darn right, I'm gonna run to Toby's house. Where's Toby's house? Do you remember this? And
Yep.
you guys took off running. And then I started to realize that you and Travis were just like two brothers basically constantly competing over everything. And we got about halfway and you both just left me in the dust. And I'm like, I'm not part of this fight. I'm just going to wait till they double
We'll catch him
back.
on the way back.
I'll catch them on the way back. And that was the start of the day.
Yeah.
Does this sound right? Am I recollecting this
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. And so part of that was I sang better if I got up and got my blood going,
Got it.
exercised. That
Okay.
way I didn't have to wait till later in the day until my body acclimated to the day. It was like, hey, well, as soon as we get up, we're gonna go for a jog. We're gonna pick a point. Like Toby's house was maybe 3/4 of a mile away. Let's go jog a couple miles, get a 20-minute run in, and come back.
Yeah. This was not a jog though. This was you and Travis trying to smoke each other.
So it was
And
me
I
and
just was like,
yeah,
yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not this emotionally invested in this moment. And I let you guys take off.
yeah,
Well, we came
yeah,
back. No, I just remember we came back. Either I might have wrote the verse already. I think I had it going into the studio.
yeah.
This is the song, The Underground. That was the song.
Stay up. Yep.
Stay Up.
Stay
That's
up.
right. I'm sorry. Stay
Yeah.
Up. Because your message board was called The Underground, right?
Yeah, so our street team was the
The
Underground
street
Army.
team. That's
So
right. The
it was
Underground
like
Army. Yep.
we were trying to like give a shout out to them, give them their own anthem. Yeah. And some of the things that stood out to me was watching at that point I had never been able to see somebody else work in a studio. I didn't have
Okay.
a frame of reference. So watching you record was like mesmerizing to me. Like you would have an idea, you're like, hit this other track, I'm gonna double this, I'm gonna hit this word. Even the little screams like falling, falling off the wall. He's like, oh, like
Because I get
doing
down
all
like
the
I'm
sound
falling off
effects.
the 8th floor.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that's amazing. But just not just the creativity in the moment, but just knowing, like, getting somebody to see somebody else work their craft was really cool for me.
Well, I give props to Todd Collins because at that point I had done a lot of recording with him, and he was really good at getting me like, you know, just
Yeah,
understanding that your voice is an instrument. I mean, if as a rapper, I'm not singing, so everything has to be done in what you're saying, how you're saying it. And that was kind of almost like the era where the ad lib was just almost as important as what you were saying. So yeah, how did I say KJ? Excuse me. I don't know. I just know I fell off the
yeah,
eighth floor. I was really proud of that
man.
line.
It was awesome, man.
And anyway,
Very memorable.
that song for me because I was like again, I don't think I had a record deal yet. And the fact that you were giving me a shot was like really helpful for me to the time because like I did have a clear idea going into the second album. I was like, I have to look past the Christian hip hop industry. I have to look into other genres, other fan bases, and things like that. So somebody asked me the other day, they're like, what are some of your more memorable guest features? And I actually said that one because that one did legitimately open up another fan base to me
Yeah,
that I
that's
didn't have
awesome.
before. And it made me also recognize that there was other fan bases out there that were actually looking to connect, and I thought I'm hitting so many roadblocks on this side. I just need to recalibrate. And so I always appreciate that one. I'm trying to think, did we ever do that live? Did we ever do that song live? Maybe once,
Yeah, I'm
maybe.
sure we did. I'm sure we did. I think we did.
Okay.
I just don't remember where it was. It was a festival or something, and you happened to be there the same day that we were
Okay.
there. Like, hey, we're gonna do this. You want to come up and do the track?
Sure.
Yeah,
Well, moving forward, actually, now, no, I'll pause for a second before I jump into that. Is that again? I was trying to get a record deal, and I remember going. I think you got me the hookup. You got me to sit down with the guy from Flickr, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get a record deal. Every Nashville label was like, nah, bro, you're busted. You're a broken experiment. But I remember,
used goods.
I think Bob the guy, Bob Herdman.
Yeah,
Okay, I remember Bob saying like, "Yeah, we got T-Bone, but we'd be interested if you're willing to do like a Kid Rock thing or something like that." He was like, "I'll only entertainment if you're willing to go rap over guitars." I was probably so gung ho at that point. I'm like, "I'll do anything, man, whatever you want." It didn't work out. The point is, but going forward, I was thinking about this: is how many tours we did together. We did so many tour dates, so many festivals, so many actual tour packages, so many one-off dates.
yeah.
I was trying to remember all the ones we did.
It's too many to remember
Was
all of them.
Condios? Did you do Condios?
Yeah,
We did Condios.
yeah.
Did we do Winter Jam?
I don't think we only did
Not Winter
Winter
Jam.
Jam one time.
Okay.
We yeah. Winter
Did
Jam
we
story is a whole nother thing.
Okay. I remember I want to say we did it was the Creation Fest tour. Does that sound right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. And then I feel like there was just a Pillar KJ rap, maybe with another rock band package where it was just
yeah.
that was the package. All I remember is I still to this day have a picture of you in my phone when you stole my phone. And it's under your contacts. I'm gonna pull this up and see if I can find it.
That's
Hopefully, I won't
awesome.
expose your cell phone number on here. Let's see here. Yep, there you are. There's your picture. I wonder if I can edit your shot. Yes. Okay. This is you. Can you see that on the camera? There you are.
Yeah, that's
That's your
awesome.
face. That's what you did. You stole my phone when I wasn't looking, and you are forever in my phone that way.
That, that is awesome.
Okay. Do you remember
No,
this
I was
moment
always
of weakness? Do you remember that moment of
yeah.
weakness?
I
Okay.
enjoyed messing with people and having fun. I think that was uh I was misperceived a lot of times as always being so serious and being intense. And people said, I don't know if you remember Ethan from Supertones, their guitar player. I feel like he
Totally.
started every band in the world, but he said,
Yep.
"You're
Sounds
like
right.
you're more like Sylvester Stallone and over the top when he like turns his hat around. He's like turns into a different person. He's like when you go on stage, like you just like intense, man.
I see that.
But backstage, we're all like goofing around, having fun.
Well, I had John Micah on a couple weeks ago, and we talked about the infamous Cutlass airsoft wars. Were you a part of these? The airsoft gun wars?
What tour was that? The Creation tour? I
it's
think it was the
something.
Creation Tour. Yeah, they were because they were busting people on their buses, and I was like,
Yes.
they come on our bus, they're gonna get it because we didn't
Yeah.
have any guns.
Right. I feel like there was a tour that we did where you guys put a stink bomb. I think you put a stink bomb in their like their van, maybe?
We have
Okay. There was a stink
now.
bomb
I don't know if
involved.
it was. I don't know if that was Cutlass.
Okay. Maybe it
I
wasn't.
now it wasn't a stink bomb. Now
It
I'm not going to
wasn't.
remember the band's name. No, I went and got a can of sardines, and I took the top off and I taped it up underneath the driver's seat so that they
This is not
it
this.
wouldn't.
This is something else. Okay,
All
but
right,
go ahead. Please
listen,
proceed.
I pranked a lot of bands, and that was always fun. We got pranked so hard, so many times that I loved it. It just felt like kind of the brotherhood bond of like people look at us and they see us as like, oh, you have this band and this band. It's like, man, we're all friends. Like it's a pretty small world.
It really
And
is.
so I don't know if people didn't realize like maybe there's a level of competitiveness in there somewhere, but
Somewhere.
it's it's healthy competitive. It was never like you despise another band or I'm not working with them. Now I will say this.
Eh,
I learned later on it was a lot harder to just ask somebody to be on your record. Like you were so easy to work with. I was like, oh, that was cool. We should ask somebody else. It didn't go the same. I won't mention
right.
anybody of who it was, but
Fair
yeah.
enough.
But I felt like there was always healthy camaraderie out on the road.
I think so too, because you're all in kind of the muck together. You know what I mean? Like you're all like, well, I hope people show up tonight. Well, I hope we don't get a merch fee. Well, I hope we have brownies
Yeah.
backstage. Well, I hope that we're all kind of in the same thing. But if I think it was like a lot of younger bands that would be on the tour package or brand new, there was a bit of hazing that I saw Pillar do firsthand. And you
Yeah.
guys, let's be honest. There was a period. Now I knew you at the beginning, right? And then out of nowhere, there's this little period of Pillar where all of a sudden you guys were all jacked. Like everybody was just jacked. Like, and you got Noah with his giant dreads. I told him all the time he looked like the Predator. You've got Lester, who's just naturally athletically big and strong. You got was it Mike Kalel,
Yeah.
who is like now still a bodybuilder. And then it just out of nowhere, all four of you guys were just like,
Yeah. So
yeah,
we
we've been
had
going to the
when we
gym a lot.
toured under the well we did if we were traveling we would try to find a gym that we could go to and we all kind of just worked out together and then when we went on tour we actually carried in one of the bays the middle bay under the bus we had like a bench a bunch of free weights dumbbells and we would just work out outside the bus.
Yeah, but it was like a period I hadn't seen you, and then it was just like, hey, oh, you got big. Oh, hey, oh, you're big too. Okay, apparently this is a thing now. That's
Yeah,
okay. And that being said,
some of it was we just felt better, like when you get up and you work out after just laying in that bunk, swaying back and forth all night driving, and you wake
right,
up in a new
right.
city. It just felt better from a health wise.
That's right. Bro rock. You got to go.
Yeah.
Bro's got to go. Protein powder. Anyway, I do also remember very clearly in the bays that you somehow or another had a Red Bull connection. And I was going through a period of time of Red Bull addiction. And I remember opening the bay one time and it was just like, it was like a pallet of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Is this right?
I, it wasn't affiliated directly to Red Bull, but
Right.
we, so when we signed our mainstream deal,
Right.
there was some connection that they had of this individual that was like a distributor and
Okay.
all we had to do was give them an address and they would
Right.
like ship like 30 cases of Red
Right.
Bull.
Right.
And so if we went on a tour, they would just hook us up at the beginning and it probably wasn't the healthiest of things to just have a
No,
bay
but
full of, but yeah, we had a lot.
we were all very young. But again, over that period of time, I felt like we connected really well. I stayed at your house one time. I remember this, it was after a show, and I had to fly out to Canada the next day. I'm pretty sure you were nice enough to take me to the airport. And I remember this very
Yeah.
clearly because I broke your door leaving the house that day. It was so early. I was so tired that something I had propped up just fell over and just took a giant chunk out of your door. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this guy was nice enough to let me stay here. He's nice enough to drive me to the airport at like 3, 4 in the morning. I've just left an indelible mark on his house with his sweet wife who has been so hospitable. And, there's like two things going through your head. Like, do I not say anything? And he just thinks somebody else did it? Or do I tell him firsthand, I think I confessed my sins to you that day?
Yeah. I was like,
And you're
nah,
like,
big deal, man.
it's not a big deal. I put holes in the wall with my
It
ironing board all
happens.
the time. It happens.
Well, now we have 6 kids now,
Yeah.
and
6.
so there's plenty of holes in our walls. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So that hole
Well,
stayed there for quite a long time
you got to mark your
until
territory.
we started renting that home out. We bought a new home, and I rented that one out for years.
Nice.
I fixed the door before the first people moved in.
I'm sorry. I never paid you back for that. I'll get you on the next one.
There were plenty of other things to fix.
Well, obviously we stayed connected for many, many times. And I'll say this. I remember a period of time where I feel like it was GMA, right? And
Mhm.
this is, I don't know. I can't remember how many years in, 5, 6, 7. It could be 8 years. I can't remember where exactly this fell. And you guys were posted up in your bus outside of where GMA took place, which was like the big hotel downtown. It's where everything took place in the GMA. And I don't think I'd seen you very often, or we hadn't connected as much. And you had just gotten your mainstream deal. And I remember going onto the bus, and I'll just say it, you did like a whole sort of, I don't want to say image change, but I felt like there was just a shift in your image. And there was a bandana on your head, maybe. Was there a bandana era? Like a bandana era in dark shades? Does this sound about right?
It could have been, yeah. I don't think that it was necessarily that I wore it a lot on
Okay.
stage, but
Okay.
my hair had gotten long. I
Gotcha.
was, throughout the day would just put a bandana on to hold it back, just because I
Okay.
didn't want to have to go get my hair ready for the whole day. It was lazy, sort of was.
Well, it was, you and pirates had something in common, and there's nothing ever
Yeah,
wrong with that. So
yeah,
I do remember going on the bus, and it was just me and you hanging on the bus. And you said something very clearly that I remember was that you're like, we're basically done with the Christian market. Like you were basically saying that they don't get us. Uh, and I feel like we had just played like a Dollywood or something like that together. Right on the heels of that, we had played Dollywood, and you guys were in like the Southern Baptist, like spot at Dollywood. It was like where they would do like hymns and stuff like that. And you guys it was like kind of like a headlining spot. I was off on the side stage with like, the country kinfolk. And you're like, today is not going well. They do not get us. We should not be here. And I remember flash forward a couple weeks, months, whatever it was, on that bus, you were like, hey, we're going to the mainstream. The churches don't get us. We're just destroying churches. And I was, because you were my friend and because we had made so many connections, I was happy for you, but also kind of a little bit concerned. Like
yeah,
I had seen so many artists I knew chase after what the mainstream market had, and they never were really better for it.
yep.
And
So that was so.
am I off here in what I was discerning in that time?
I wouldn't say that you're off. There's a couple maybe supplementary pieces that were going on, but
Sure,
so the
sure.
Dollywood thing, that was a tough day. Like
I remember that show very well.
and I say this, it's over, it's done with, whatever. But they banned us from that park.
Really?
So the thing was, we were in the acapella stage,
That's what it
and
was. That's what it
we
was.
knew it was going to be a rough day when we're loading in, and they had like the red, yellow, orange, green, blue microphone covers, and just like 4 or 5 mics up there. Well, there was a sign apparently by the front of house board that says 96 decibel maximum. Well, our drummer with no microphones and no PA, he was louder in that room. He was louder than
Sure,
96 dB. So
sure.
we start the first set. We were supposed to play 3 sets that day. And we started our first song. And it was like all of these season ticket holders just jump up to their feet with their walkers and leave. Like what? Like they like
What do we
giving
sign
us
up
these
for?
dirty looks. Yeah, they had no idea. So
Man,
my frustration was it was miscommunication to the attenders. Like you knew what you were hiring, you guys contracted us to come in and to be us, not to be a different version.
Right.
So we
Makes no
tried
sense.
the second and third set. We said, listen, we can't do a full set because some of our songs will not translate to acoustic, but we'll just do an acoustic set. So we at least tried to accommodate. But there was a moment during that first set when I looked over and our sound guy is like on the side of the stage with his arms crossed, just fuming. We're like, what is going on? He goes, I shut the PA off. He's like, your vocal is the only thing going through it. And so the long and short of it, there was just all of these tensions that were rising within the
Sure.
Christian world. And
Yep.
we did get this mainstream deal, but I would say we never like abandoned the Christian marketplace. And
No.
the goal was never to
Yes.
abandon like
Absolutely.
Christendom, but it
Right.
was more so like we we could go play a show with Seven Dust and get more respect from the crowd and from the band than if we were to go play, with Mercy Me at Six Flags. And that happened. We played a show one time in Virginia Beach with Drowning Pool and Slipknot. And the very next day, we were in Midland, Texas, playing with Mercy Me. And I remember saying something from stage at the Texas concert. I said, I'm not sure very many bands can say that they opened one night for Slipknot and the next night for Mercy Me. So I said that,
This is a weird
and we
time.
got so much hate mail and
Really?
hateful responses of you should have never mentioned Slipknot at a Christian festival. So there was a lot of wrestling, and I'll tell you that season was me trying to figure out my life, trying to figure
Mm,
out my faith because
mm.
if I could get to a show, go in, play the show, and just go back to my bus and not have to talk to anybody, that was a good day. Because we were
Yeah.
getting so much like just negative responses from Christians. I'm like, why? And you remember Doug Van Pelt from Jim
Yeah.
Magazine?
Yep.
So Doug Van Pelt, I asked him, very much part of that dark underground hard rock Christian scene from the 80s on. He knew it all. He had been around it all. He had watched all of that evolve. I talked to him one time at a festival and I was like, hey, man, how did you navigate all of the negativity? I'm sure it was worse back in the day, but how did you navigate all of that? I was like, I find myself like being so frustrated with Christians of like wanting to judge or having perceptions of us. I'm like, I get in trouble when I get home for not taking the trash out. I'm just a guy, right? Like, why is there so much hate and animosity towards us when we're just trying to do what we're called to do? And he said, he kind of put into reference, like, well, how do you expect to love the body that you're a part of if you don't love yourself? And it was something
Wow.
along those, like, it was just a one statement. And then I was just like, I don't know. Fast forward 1 year later, Doug saw me, approached me, and said, how are you doing with Love in the Body? It was like, same festival, almost 365 days later, and he picked up the very question that he had asked me a year later. And I told him, I said, I have had to really check my own heart. I have had to learn to,
Wow.
and that was the start of me becoming more healthy in the perspective of what was going on because we did play a lot of mainstream shows. We played some places that were like 20 people showing up in a tiny little club because our mainstream label said you need to play this market so we can get you on the radio here. It's like it was like we were starting over. And so there was a very real tension during that time. And I would say that conversation you and I probably had was very much me trying to figure it out, me just
Sure.
venting.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I never I just really prayed for you. You know what I mean? I was like, this is something he has to figure out. It's when a move comes from a place of frustration, it's never usually a good, healthy move. And I'm like, So it's funny you mentioned about mainstream venues because I know I did go and see you perform, and maybe it was the C Spot Run tour.
Yeah.
It was like you guys. I feel like Grits
Yep.
was on the tour, and you
Yep.
guys played a very famous venue from my original hometown, which is the Tampa Bay area, called Janice Landing. And
Yeah.
I feel like that was the Where Do We Go From Here album. Lester, I think, had just started playing for you, which obviously is phenomenal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it, his addition, obviously you had some band changes over the years, but I felt like his addition brought in a whole different vibe, a different style. But jumping ahead a little bit, I feel like if we go, I've talked about a lot of art, a lot of my friends that I brought on, is that the ascent is really, you feel like you're on a roller coaster ride that will never go down, right? As you're ascending, because a lot of what you start off as a band is you're just struggling, you're fighting for recognition, and you get a little bit of a hookup, and then you get a little bit better, and then you're always kind of hoping for the next big thing. That while you're on the way up, you're not really noticing it, but you definitely notice it when it's coming down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the shows that you used to get aren't getting when all of a sudden the tours you're not getting, or you do a one-off show and you getting half the size of the crowd, and it's like, oh, it's clear, like we're on the other side of this thing. And anyway, all that being said, is I remember doing a tour with you. It was the Confessions tour, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was just me, you guys. There might have been a rock band opener.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. Was it Seventh Time Down? Maybe?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that who it was?
Maybe that might
Okay.
have been them.
Okay. And then my man George Moss, who toured with me forever, he kind of would every once in a while open up. But we were all on the tour bus, except for the opener who was providing the sound system. And I'll just say it, man, that was a rough tour.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that being like, it was a rough one, because I remember we played a date where basically the promoter just wanted to hang out with you guys. Like, that's what the show was. It was like, I guess the rumor was he got like a tax return, or maybe he had some money. And basically he threw the show to basically just hang out with you guys and didn't promote the show at all. And I feel like there might have been less than 30 people at this show, maybe less. Do
Yeah.
you remember this date?
Yeah. Yeah. And there was, there were so many variables and things. We had new management back, new booking agent. We had new players in the band at that time. And I had more kids. There were so many, variables, that, and internal tensions and stuff like that. That hasn't ever really been publicly talked about a lot, but um, there was just so many things going on and so distracted. And it is true, like that ascent. So there's a book called Predictable Success that talks about like these different life cycles of organizations and companies. And it's like on that ascent, there's this one, I guess, it's called whitewater, like where you're just like you're in it, you're like you're having to just survive. You're like, dude, this is so much fun. It's kind of risky. And then you get to the top, and there's that predictable success that you got to. But then there's what they call the treadmill when you get on the other side of that downward, and you're just trying to not let go. I feel like that was our treadmill season. We were trying to just keep the pace, like don't stir it up too much, but we didn't make the right changes to be able to continue to move up. And I've learned so much about life since then, and we all have, but that was definitely, I had, who was it? I don't remember his name now. We had a crew member, and I remember him asking, it was the record before Confessions. We were doing a tour, and Mike and Lester had just left to go pursue other things. And I remember this guy asking me, he's like, do you feel trapped? Do you feel like you're stuck and you can't get out? That question rocked me, man, because I was like, no, like not offended that he asked it, but I like sloughed it off. I was like, no, man, I don't feel that way. And I walked away. I'm like, I don't know if I maybe I do. How do you get out of this? Like, there's no exit strategy. Like, this is all
Right.
I know.
Right.
And so I think that planted a seed of, is it time to move on?
Well, I was always in for me, I was always in rebrand mode. Like every year. It was like, well, this could be it. Well, this could be it. Well, this could be. There's always like I mean, hip hop benefits from the fact that you can go really lean and still be pretty effective. Like I could go out and do a show by myself if in the worst case scenario. So my overhead is less. So like my margin of error was less, but everything you talked about, it's always the same in the music industry. Like that's just part of the nature that you're never really talked about. There's no backup plan. You're only good as your last hit. You're only good as your last, and there's always somebody behind you that's ready to take your place. And the sheer nature of it, and also this is, I think, we came out in an era where social media and the internet became a thing. Like it became a thing in the music industry. So you could go in real time on your own message board and see what people are saying about you, which is good and bad. You know what I mean? You could go in real time, social media probably doesn't come in until later, but we started the barrier between the fan and the artist began to shrink and shrink and shrink, which on one hand was great, on the other hand was terrible. And I remember on that tour, the infamous, I called it the home invasion band, the infamous home invasion show. We reached some place where I'll never forget this day. Like, and it had just been struggle show after struggle show, just the whole tour. And we got to this thing that was supposed to be like a festival, and it's massive space. Like, I mean, you're talking, it was big enough to do any major festival, and it rained and it was freezing cold all day long. And basically what ended up happening is maybe 200 people showed up to a place that could have easily fit 5,000, 10,000, and it was sponsored by like a skate ministry or something like that. And everybody was just in a bad mood on the bus. Like that's just like, it was just like one last blow is like, we're gonna go out here in the rain, the freezing cold on this massive stage. Like there was enough, you could bring the people onto the stage. I remember this, and everybody was mopey, everybody was staying in their bunks. And I feel like I said, everybody is playing in my band tonight. Like that's what I basically said, was like, because up to that point, like everybody was like, "Oh, can I play drums for you? Can I play guitar for you? Whatever." I said, "Everybody on the tour is in my band tonight." And I kept thinking of like, how many people can I add to my band? I didn't have a band. It was just me and George. But I said, everyone is wearing ski masks on stage. And I'm almost certain it was your guitar player who I told to shred the entire set. He had no idea what my set was. I just said, just solo the whole time. Maybe it was Cliff. I think it was Cliff from Seven Time Down. That's who played guitar. He's just shredded the whole time. My the bass player that did was my former bass player, so he actually knew my show. I feel like you were on percussion, which was like a MIDI keyboard with just sounds in it, and you just kept hitting noises through the whole set. And Taylor might have been, no, I'm sorry. Austin was on drums for Seven Time Down. And Austin had actually played with me. But Taylor kept asking to play. And I didn't want him to play because at the end of the day, I still needed the drummer to be like familiar with what I did. So I made Taylor dance next to the drummer. I feel like, does that sound right? And then
Yes.
okay, all right. Well, I remember this clearly. And then I remember your son came out at some point during one of the songs and just like hype man, like there was 8 people on stage with me, like
Yeah.
all pretty much in ski masks. And like I'm like, I just felt like everybody needs to just chill out and just have a terrible show together. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we just all be miserable together?
Just have
And I
have
just
fun with it.
yeah, and I remember the crowd being like, "What is going on?" Like they were literally all 200 people in this 5,000 seat space were just so confused.
Yeah,
Do you remember
there were
this?
plenty of there's moments like that that you do just have to like hit a reset button of like, man, we started this because it was fun.
Because it
And
was
then
fun.
and then it gets to like it's the grind, it's just wearing
Yeah.
you down. There's so
Yes.
much going on, the
Yes.
emotional expense of it all. And then,
Yes.
somebody just like we had moments like that. I'll never forget. We had a show like that one time in California. This guy flew us out there. We ended up playing in it was like a old like a ice skating rink that they covered
Okay.
the floor or something and brought in the stage. And there's like 12 people. It was just his son's birthday. And the guy pays thousands and thousands of dollars to bring us out and play the show. And so rather than we're like, dude, what songs are we going to play? Like we could play anything today. So we just started taking requests at some point. I'm
Right.
like, hey, what song do you want for your birthday? He said some song. I'm like, we haven't played this song ever live. Let's try it. Our sound guy, we're like, hey man, don't run the normal intro, just surprise us. And we walk. So he's on the walkie talkie thing. He goes, all right, you guys ready? Like, yeah, everybody's ready to go. He's like, all right, here comes the intro. And it was like, Prince Ali, Ali is he, Ali Bob. Well, it was like from Aladdin. We're like, what the heck is this? Yeah.
Ah. Well, I think the crowd during mine was very confused because everybody had a ski mask on, and I introduced them as the home invasion band.
Yeah.
But, if you're gonna go out, burn it down. I mean, again, I think we stayed in touch for obviously a little bit after that. I think right around 2012 or so, we did one last song together that I kind of did in conjunction with the time with Triple X Church. And then I feel like right after that, and forgive me if my timeline's off, you kind of ended it and started uh as a worship pastor. Is that right?
Yeah. So I moved into a worship pastor role. I did that for about 4 years, and then moved
Okay.
into a campus pastor role.
Campus pastoral. Yeah.
And now I'm in a position where I actually am overseeing the ministry operations of multiple campuses of our church. So
Wow.
as well as a prison ministry. So it keeps me very, very busy. It's a lot to manage and oversee, but super thankful for where I am. I've learned so much. I went for a season when I was doing worship that I didn't want to talk about Pillar. Like if people brought it up, I needed to not disassociate. I just needed to have a pride detox and an identity cleanse.
Mm,
For me, I think it hit me one time when somebody, you know how they want you to do like radio liners or whatever, like, hey, can you do this liner? And you're like, hey, what's up? It's Rob from Pillar. And it was like from Pillar was my surname. It was my part of my identity.
right.
And it hit me one day towards the end of like coming off of the road of like, man, I have allowed myself to get sucked into this is too much of my identity. And so that first year of leading worship, I called it my pride detox year and my identity cleanse. It was really focusing on my identity as in Christ, that I have a purpose and it's to create a new branch on my family tree that grows in the direction of Christ. Like I started to have more focused purpose in my life. I know that, the road can be tough and you're going to have interactions with people that most of those people are going to be like, man, they were great. They were so easy to work with. And then there's going to be that group of people like, man, they were jerks. We're never bringing them
Right.
back. And so
Right.
much of it is, dependent upon if you're having what's going on at home, what's going on the road. So it was a very interesting couple of years for me stepping in to do worship. The most crazy thing was like same stage, same room every week. Like this is weird. I'm used to
Right.
waking up in a new
Right.
city, a new stage. And so it was a very growing time for me.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because I can super relate. For me, my exit was around 2019, 2020 being the first time, I stepped back into full-time ministry. I was a youth pastor before I, went full-time with the music, but then that's 20 years of my life. That's a good chunk of my life. That's like 1/3 of my life was spent in this weird space that no one can really relate to, unless you've actually done it, been in it. And then to all of a sudden, it's like the car's going 100 miles an hour and you throw the emergency brake on and you're at a dead stop. And for me, it was strategic. I would say I chose to do that. It wasn't forced, but there was some like my hand was forced too, just to be honest with you. Like it was like I knew that I better make plans because it's coming to an end. And just as I get on staff, COVID hits, right? And so I'm like, oh man, all my artist friends are like struggle bus right now because they can't get any shows. And I actually have a steady job. But everything you just said about the detox from pride and ego and the things that are like survival mechanisms in the music industry do not translate to the church world. They really don't translate anywhere. They're not healthy. You know what I mean? But you pick them up because they're survival instincts,
Yeah.
which is don't trust people, always look for another ulterior motive. Everyone is a snake. Everyone only sees you as a commodity. Keep your circle really tight and small. Always be in damage control mode. You're always trying to reinvent yourself and you're always like kind of in a state of panic. I mean, you're always like, man, by this time next year it could be all over. And your wins are massive and your losses are even bigger, like financially, emotionally, spiritually. And then you're always being fed a constant stream of ego. You know what I mean? And the church world is 100%, I mean, the kingdom of God is 100% different than that. And the problem is your talents, the other side of the music industry, and I don't know if your experience was like this. The other side is the things that you pick up in the music industry do really translate well to the church world, meaning you're always working with volunteers. You're always empowering volunteers. You're always working, you have to be a people person to an extent because it's part of it. And you learn to be a commanding presence on stage. You have the alpha male energy that people are drawn to. And the reality is, if you made it to any sort of professional level, there's something different about you that people, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
So
100%.
everything
100%.
translates and nothing translates at the same time. And I spent the first couple years realizing like how many bad habits I had, how many things I needed to die to, how much growing I needed to do spiritually. And I thought I was doing pretty good. But,
There's a
and then all
lot
of a
of
sudden, go ahead.
there's so much truth to what you just said, and I think the thing that translates is all of the operational awareness, the logistical
Yes.
planning, the
Yes.
ability to be a leader. Like, you have to learn to lead yourself before you can lead others. Your ability to get up and stage and move people in a direction that maybe they don't want to go. How to win people over
Yes.
that may not be fair.
Yes.
Like, there's so many things. Gives you a comfort. Like, most people, especially in ministry, when you're given a platform, ministry comes with a microphone, whether it's leading volunteers in a huddle or in a lobby conversation or on stage. Most people are intimidated by the idea. It's one of the greatest fears is,
Right.
public
Right.
speaking. And so when I stepped into ministry, everybody's like, "You're so comfortable on stage." And like, I had to feed my family. Like, of course I'm comfortable on stage. Like, I've done this thousands of times.
Right.
And
Right.
so I started off in ministry with a comfortability on stage that most people just take so many years to get to. So we had already worked through a lot of all of that stuff translates and sets you up well, but it's that ego every day. Somebody's picking you up from an airport. Man, you guys are awesome. We're so excited to see you. And then you get in the ministry and they're like, "Hey, let me give you some feedback." You're like, "What? You don't think I'm awesome?"
Right.
So yeah, there's a weird dichotomy that exists, and that's part of why I didn't want necessarily to talk about it. But today, I pull from so many lessons learned during that time to be able to help develop the people that I'm called to lead now. So many great examples of here's a time that I failed. You want to talk about failure? Here's a great one.
Well, isn't it funny to think like you could be doing your daily, whatever that job is? I'm going to do a membership class. I'm going to do a volunteer appreciation. I'm going to do a huddle, whatever. And you could be just doing your normal thing where the vast majority of the people that you're talking to have no idea who you are, don't care who you are. They're just there for a purpose. And then there'll be one or two people in that room who are like, "Hey, are you?" And you're like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, yeah, I
yeah.
was. Yeah.
It's
Oh, how the
it's
mighty have
it's
fallen."
kind
And
of
you're taking a
fun.
picture in the lobby with them.
Yeah. We did this is a selfish, shameless segue. So we did this concert 2 summers ago. So summer 24, we recorded some footage of this us getting back together after all these years. We're going to get back together and play this concert. And it kind of evolved. Like, we were going to go play this show. I think it was a live festival booked us, and we decided, well, we should probably practice. It's been a long time. So we scheduled the time that, like, Lester was done not doing anything with Kelly Clarkson. Noah was off, had some availability off the road with Brantley Gilbert. And so we flew him in. We were going to fly in. We were going to rehearse on this day. And then the next month, we were going to go play this concert. We're like, we're playing with Skillet. We don't want to freaking look like scrubs, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
the idea then evolved and said, instead of just doing a practice on Friday and Saturday, everybody's got to fly. Is if we just stick around, could we do a concert on Sunday? And then we decided, okay, well, let's film it. Let's then make a documentary and travel to all of these shows and kind of interview everybody. We ended up selling that show out. We had 1,500 people at our church that showed up from, like, I think it was like 5 different countries. People came in and bought tickets. We did a really fun kind of, VIP meet and greet with people and did a little talk back session with them, taking it back to the old school festival days. Like, we're gonna do a talk back session. And man, it was so much fun. But
Yeah.
I was so nervous. I hadn't been that nervous about anything, but it wasn't about the show. It was about rehearsal. I'm like, Lester, and Noah, they've been gigging all these years at the highest levels, and now I'm going to be a front man on stage with them. Like, I don't feel at all worthy. Like, I couldn't remember the lyrics. I'm on the stair climber every day for like 20 minutes. Like, I got to get my lungs back in shape. I'm like singing on the way to work, like trying to get my voice back in shape. So they all show up and we decide, like, hey, we got our ears set. It's late. Let's come back tomorrow and we'll rehearse all day. They said, before we go, let's just run one song and see where we're at. So it's been 16 years since the
Wow.
four of us had played a concert together, and
Wow.
we're all ears are locked in. Like, all right, hit play. So Lester started the little intro track into Fireproof. And I think there were our sound guy and then an old crew member that came back to help and another guy were sitting out in this big auditorium, like 1,200 seats, and they're the only three sitting out there. And we played Fireproof. And when we got done, they all just like stand up and they're, yes. And it was like, right, you would have
It's great.
never guessed that we hadn't played together in that long. Like, it was so
That's
smooth.
amazing.
So we all rested well that night. My anxiety went way down. Like, okay, I can still do this. And we came back the next day, rehearsed the set a couple times, and played a concert the next day.
It's
And we
like
have a
riding a
DVD
bike.
that's coming out here very soon, like within the
Awesome.
next
Where
couple weeks.
is there a place where you could send them to go check that out or be a
Yeah, it's on
part of it?
our any of our socials. You can find it, Pillar Music or pillarmusic.com on our website. We're
Okay.
doing the pre-orders. They're actually being printed as we speak, and they'll start shipping pretty quick. But it's Blu-ray and DVD to start. It's about an hour long. Kind of the heart behind it was, hey, we don't who scrapbooks anymore? Does anybody still scrapbook? I don't know. But rather than doing something like that to try to give something to our kids, because we won't be here forever, and will my grandkids ever get to really hear any of these stories? We said, let's film this. Our bass player's oldest son is a filmmaker, and he put together a very well done telling the story of reunification, getting back together on stage, but also tied into that is each one of our stories, how we entered the band, how it all came together. So there's a lot of history of how we started with the excitement of getting to play that concert and then a big kind of recap at the end. So it's a pretty special documentary and it's a good gift to pass on to our kids. Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. It's called Pillar Beyond the Front Line. Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And just a funny little thing before we get to this or that. I have people that are on my staff now that I am leading that tell funny stories like, yeah, when I was growing up, my parents wouldn't let me listen to you because you guys were too heavy. So now I'll send a picture, like I'll take a picture of them and like send it to their parents and be like, I'm their boss now. It's pretty, it's funny, but we made a lot of impressions on people. So it's hard, man. Here's the thing. I went through the Adidas phase and it was hard in our age because we had both Michael Jordan and Run DMC. And so I liked them both, but Michael Jordan, like it took me until I was almost 40 years old to get my first pair of actual Jordans. And now I have quite a few pair of Jordans. Michael Jordan was just iconic. Yeah. Wings. Yes. Peace. I'm a fan of Buffalo Wild Wings just because it's pretty consistent, but Asian Zing was my go-to. It was a good day. Yes. Yeah. Those those could be two different categories. The one that was the best at what they did, 311, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, and Linkin Park. As far as an overall performer and just being able to put on a show, Kid Rock was the epitome of showmanship. His intro at Woodstock was like unforgettable. I just think he was the showman. Who did I like the most? Probably Linkin Park. As they evolved, they just evolved their style so much. Most influence, I would say 311. So I mean, different reasons. Like Kid Rock was cool, but I won't undersell his ability to be a showman. He was the best showman of all of those. I mean, you gave the answer in the question. It's like, or some other. Like, is there even some other? Like if you're not planning center, are you even a church? Planning center is just it's just so effective, man. It works for everything. Yeah. American church. Yeah. It's such an effective tool. It really is. Yeah. It is. Don't say that. Yes. Bless them. Yeah. Yeah. And scheduling your services, you can have a breakdown, scheduling your musicians. You know how many people have accepted the kindergarten room for that weekend? Yeah. Yes. Great question. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, man. I think that every single individual, it's hard to say that there's very few people, or I would say there's very few people that start doing something when they're 14 and do it till they're 140. You know what I mean? God equips you, he gives you, he molds you during a season to prepare you for the next. And I think those of us that are parents, we understand like God teaches you how to parent a 2-year-old so you can parent a 4-year-old so that you can parent a college kids. Each season evolves you and grows you. And it just so happens that we got to travel the world and stand in front of people and encourage people in their faith while we were wrestling with ours. And we got to be vulnerable in front of people, we got to inspire people, but at the very same time, God was equipping us and sharpening us, refining us so that we could now come back and still be used to do the work of the ministry. Absolutely. Amen. Thanks, brother. It was good to catch up. Love it. All right. Later.